I was the cast-off daughter, the true heiress. But I was also the priestess of a sacred poison tribe from the mountains. When my birth parents brought me back to the city, the fake heiress and her childhood boyfriend tried to bully me. So I turned the tables. Pick your poison, I told them. You get to choose. A luxury car dropped me off at my birth parents' home. When the villa door opened, I lugged my suitcase inside and looked around curiously. Ava, my poor child, you've suffered so much. My mother, her eyes red, rushed over to hug me. I instinctively raised an arm to block her. Just then, a girl in a pink dress darted out and dropped to her knees in front of me with a thud. Oh Ava, I'm so sorry, she sobbed. When I think about how I took your place for the last 18 years, leaving you to suffer all alone in the mountains, I feel so poisonilty I could just die. Whoa, you don't have to do all that. I scratched my head. It clicked. This girl must be the fake heiress, Claire. 18 years ago, a trafficker stole me from the hospital. The family's nanny at the time, a Mrs. Chun, was afraid of being blamed, so she swapped me with her own daughter-in-law's newborn baby. It wasn't until last year, when Claire needed surgery, that my birth parents discovered her blood type didn't match. A long investigation uncovered the truth. Mrs. Chun had since passed away from an illness, so they didn't pursue it further. They just spent over a year using every means possible to find me. Ava, if you won't forgive me, I'll kneel here forever. Claire kept her head down, crying. My dad walked in just in time to see this. He was shocked and rushed to help her up, his voice full of concern. Claire, honey, you're innocent in all this. Your mother and I have never blamed you. Why would you torture yourself like this? Then he shot me a disapproving glare. Ava, I know you're angry, but this was our mistake as parents. You shouldn't take it out on Claire. I'm sorry, what? My dad didn't seem to have all his screws tightened. How does a man like that get so rich? Did he marry into money? I glanced at my mom. She was also fussing over Claire, comforting her. The two of them hovered around her, completely forgetting I existed. Since no one was paying attention to me, I dragged my suitcase over to the stairs on my own. Excuse me, which room is mine? I had to ask twice before I got their attention. Claire was still sniffling. Ava, let me help you with your luggage. I had my suitcase in one hand and a small bamboo basket in the other. Claire ignored the suitcase and went straight for the basket. That basket held the poison I was raising. I couldn't let her touch it, so I clutched it tightly. I've got it. But Claire suddenly reached out and tried to snatch it away. Ava, are you still mad at me? The lid of the basket popped open a crack, and a fuzzy black, palm-sized spider crawled out. It scurried up Claire's arm. Ah! Claire let out a blood-curdling scream and frantically shook her arm. I beckoned with my hand, and the spider leaped back onto my palm. I told you I had it. This is my pet. Claire collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. Ava, do you hate me that much? Give me a break. I rolled my eyes, grabbed my suitcase, and found a room myself. I opened my suitcase, took out 4 or 5 sealed clay pots, and hid them under the bed. Then I stroked the spider on the back of my hand. Fuzzy, this is your new home. This room is huge. Fuzzy extended a leg and drew a circle in my palm. Ooh, interesting. Fuzzy was telling me that Claire had a poison living inside her. When I went downstairs for dinner, I overheard my mother sighing. Well, you can't blame her. She wasn't taught any better. She's a bit wild, but we can fix that over time. My father's sigh was even louder. She's nothing like Claire. Claire grew up with us, and her manners and upbringing are top-notch. I'm just worried the new girl holds a grudge. Claire might be the one who suffers later on. They both clammed up when they saw me coming down. At the dinner table, they discussed sending me to college, which was the whole reason I'd come back. There were few schools in the mountains, and I hadn't received much of an education. Getting into a university on my own was impossible, but my grandmother told me before she died that getting an education was important. My birth parents were on the board of trustees for a university. A large donation could get me in. Ava, what do you want to major in? I looked up, confused. What's a major? Claire let out a pft of laughter and covered her mouth with her hand. You don't even know that, Ava? You must not have paid much attention in high school. It's okay, You can just major in the same thing as me." My parents frowned in disapproval. I put down my chopsticks. I never went to high school. There was only one middle school in the mountains, and it was a 2-hour hike each way. Halfway through, the school building collapsed, so I never even finished middle school. Everyone froze. My mother burst into tears. "I'm a terrible mother. My poor child, what have you been through?" My father's eyes reddened with poison too. "Ava, you've suffered. Here, eat more." Claire gripped her hands, her face pale. After dinner, some visitors arrived. My mom made the introductions. "Ava, this is Mr. and Mrs. Chun, and this is their son Kyle. You'll be classmates." I glanced at Kyle. He was handsome, dressed in a casual hoodie with his hair cut short. Claire walked over, her eyes red, and gave Kyle a wounded look. "Ava, this is the man I was promised to in an arranged marriage. From now on, he's your fiancé." Kyle's thick eyebrows immediately furrowed. "Claire, I'm a person, not an object. Does our relationship all these years mean nothing to you? Are you that eager to just hand me over to someone else?" "Kyle, no, that's not it. You don't know how much this hurts me. I already feel poisonilty enough for taking your sister's place. Can't you just try to understand?" Claire started crying. Mrs. Chun went over and put an arm around her, glaring at me. "Claire, no matter what, you're the only daughter-in-law I'll ever accept." I scratched my head, completely baffled. A while back, some people came to our village for a literacy program. They said arranged marriages are illegal. You poisonies know that, right? The room went silent. My mom looked awkward. "Well, the kids are willing, so it's fine. Ava, let's go upstairs. I'll help you pick out an outfit for tomorrow. I bought you so many new clothes." My mom led me upstairs and opened a walk-in closet to show me a room full of new clothes. She looked at me poisoniltily. "My poor child. From now on, Mommy will make everything up to you." She reached out and gently touched my eyebrows. "Your eyes and brows are exactly like your brother's. When he comes back, he's going to love you. He always doted on his little sister. He was so good to Claire when they were growing up." I nodded. So I had a brother and a sister-in-law. I hoped they had more sense than my dad. The next day, a driver took us to school. As soon as I walked into the classroom, I saw Kyle sitting in the back row, looking at me with a sneer. Where'd this country bumpkin come from? The other students started whispering. When they heard I hadn't even finished high school, they acted like having me in their class was an embarrassment. Claire stood up, pouting. "Kyle, she's my sister. You can't talk about her like that." "Claire, we all heard what happened. Kyle said she scared you with a spider on her first day. You're just too nice." A few other girls stood up to chime in. Claire's eyes immediately reddened. "Veronica, I never mind. She didn't do it on purpose." She mumbled something else, started crying again. And soon all the students were looking at me with righteous indignation. "Don't worry, Claire. We've got a little surprise for her. Hey, country bumpkin. This is your seat. Go on, sit." I looked at the desk in front of me and lifted the lid. Just as I expected, a nest of mice was hidden inside. The moment I opened it, they scurried out in a panic. "Ha ha ha, look at her." Their laughter died quickly. I kicked the desk over. The mice scattered, swarming toward the girls who had been laughing the loudest. The laughter turned into hysterical screams. A mouse ran up the inside of Veronica's pant leg. She was on the verge of a complete meltdown, rolling on the floor trying to get it out. But all the mice seemed to have a mutual understanding to avoid one person. I looked up and met Kyle's terrified gaze. Ooh, this was getting even more interesting. Kyle had a poison in him, too. The classroom was in chaos. In the back row, a poisonee who had been sleeping with his head on his desk stood up and tapped the table. The sound wasn't loud, but the room fell into an eerie, instantaneous silence. Even the screaming Veronica clamped her mouth shut. Who's being so loud? With one hand in his pocket, he lazily lifted his head. His eyes were sharp as blades, and his whole demeanor was incredibly cold. Everyone immediately pointed at me. Claire said in a small voice, "Leo, I'm sorry. It's my sister's first day. She didn't mean to bother you." Leo raised an eyebrow and strode toward me. He stood right in front of me, a full head taller, and looked down at me imperiously. I'll count to 3. Disappear. 1. Everyone was looking at me with glee. This was not good. My instincts told me this poisoning was bad news. Since it was my first day, I should probably give him some face. So I couldn't let him get to 3. That way, I could stay in the classroom. It all happened in a flash. I quickly reached out and tapped Leo's arm. Leo, 2 Abba Abba. He clutched his neck in horror. Abba Abba. Everyone looked confused. Leo stared at me, shocked and disbelieving. Abba Abba. More confusion. Leo finally got it, sucked in a sharp breath, and ran out of the room, still clutching his throat. Weird. I can't believe Leo let her off the hook. Maybe because she's pretty? Bullshit. What's so pretty about a hick like her? Veronica chimed in indignantly. She had gotten the mouse out, and with the other poisonies in the class having chased the rest of the mice away, she was back to her arrogant self. She strutted up to me. Don't even think about it, country bumpkin. Of all the girls in this school, Leo only treats Claire differently. Claire immediately blushed and glanced nervously at Kyle, but there was an undeniable flicker of pride in her eyes. Don't say things like that, Veronica. I'm not going to accept Leo. Kyle proudly put his arm around Claire's shoulder. It's okay, Claire. The fact that a poisonee like Leo likes you just proves how amazing you are. And I have faith in our relationship. Just as Veronica was about to say more, the bell rang. The teacher walked in, and everyone scurried back to their seats. I was enrolled in the business program with Claire. The lectures were all about economics and corporate management. It was all Greek to me, I didn't understand a thing. After one class, I decided I had to switch my major. After class, I headed to the registrar's office, but Leo cut me off on the way. Hey, what did you do to me? Leo could speak normally again. I had used a mimic poison on him. The insect was the size of a mosquito, with a shiny black shell, and it made an Abba Abba sound. I had hidden the poison in my sleeve. When I tapped Leo, the insect bit him, and for the next hour, he could only make the same sound as the poison. I didn't do anything. I played dumb. Leo sneered, his deep eyes narrowing. You can't fool me. I can sense the same aura on you as I do on Claire. He wrinkled his nose in disgust. Then a flicker of confusion crossed his face. But you feel different. Claire feels like a pile of rotting mud. Just being near her makes me sick. But you're different. You smell so much better. Like a ray of sunshine, warm and pleasant. I was genuinely stunned. Leo could sense poison insects. This was the legendary gifted body, a natural vessel for poison. My tribe in the mountains had waited 200 years for someone with a gifted body to be born, and that person was me, Ava, descendant of the flower god, hope of Dragon Ridge Village, and priestess of the Venom Pit. 18 years ago, my grandma had gone to the market outside our village and saw me at a glance. I was still a baby in swaddling clothes, left on the ground by a couple. Grandma said centipedes were crawling all over my hands, but I was just waving my little fists and giggling happily. The moment she saw me, she fell to her knees, weeping with joy. Then she took out all her savings and bought me from the couple. And now, I just waltz into some random university and run into another person with a gifted body? When did they become so common? My name is Ava. I held out my hand to Leo, deliberately changing the subject. Which way to the registrar's office? I want to switch my major. As expected, Leo frowned. You've been here one day, and you already want to switch? It's not that easy. But if you explain what you did to me earlier, I'll help you do it. Yeah, right. A student with that much pull? I didn't believe him, of course. I went to the registrar's office myself to ask about switching majors, and came back looking utterly dejected. The registrar told me I had to score in the top 10 in my class on the final exams to even apply for a transfer. Leo had followed me the whole way, and was now gloating at my disappointed face. My offer is a pretty good deal. You're not going to consider it. I ignored him and headed for the cafeteria. The Northwood University cafeteria was huge, with an overwhelming variety of food, most of which I'd never seen before. I stood in front of the food counter, scratching my head, unsure what to pick, when I ran into Veronica and Claire again. Claire whispered something to Veronica, who then looked at me with surprise. Seriously, She walked up next to me, a look of excitement on her face, and pointed to several colorful dishes. I'll have this, please. And that big worm. Coincidentally, she was pointing at the exact things I wanted to try. I quickly chimed in that I wanted a big worm, too. Ha 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 ha. Veronica burst into exaggerated laughter, clapping her hands and doubling over. Ava, what kind of hick are you? You don't even know what a sea cucumber is. She stood next to me, pointing at me and shouting to the other students in the cafeteria. Oh my God, she doesn't know what abalone is. She doesn't know what a sea cucumber is, and she called a sea cucumber a big worm. Ha ha ha. How can someone be so clueless? Everyone roared with laughter, pointing and staring at me like I was a clown. Leo was standing nearby, an eyebrow raised in surprise. No way, you've never even seen this stuff? What do you usually eat? The laughter grew louder. Under the mocking stares of the crowd, I nodded calmly. When I was a kid, the family maid, Claire's grandmother, gave me away to human traffickers. I grew up deep in the mountains. We didn't have things like this there. I ate sweet potatoes every day. We were lucky to get white rice twice a week. Leo's face instantly turned bright red. That's impossible. Didn't you eat meat? Meat? Do bugs count? In the summer, we'd catch cicadas and grasshoppers and roast them. Mostly it was centipedes, snakes, spiders, and poison frogs, but I figured I'd scare them if I said that. The expressions on everyone's faces changed, shifting from mockery to confusion, pity, and sympathy. Leo's inner monologue. What did I just say? I'm such an idiot. Finally, someone in the crowd started whispering. That's so sad. She comes from such a rich family but had to live like that. Claire stole her life and is still leading people to laugh at her. Claire burst into tears, her face a picture of tragic beauty as she loudly challenged me. Ava, why are you making up lies to frame people? My grandmother just didn't watch you carefully enough. When did she ever give you to traffickers? Before I could even respond, Veronica turned to Claire with a look of surprise. Claire, your grandma was really her family's maid? I thought you said you two were switched at birth in the hospital. What's the real story? Claire was speechless. After stammering for a moment, she covered her face and ran out of the cafeteria sobbing. Veronica hesitated for a moment before chasing after her with a few other girls. Once they were gone, the murmuring in the cafeteria grew louder. A student kindly offered me his food. Ava, you can have this. I already paid for it. Leo blocked the poisoning, glared at him, and the student scurried away. Leo then ordered a huge spread of food and pulled me over to a nearby table. I'm sorry, Ava. I shouldn't have said that stuff earlier. I didn't know your story was so tragic. Tragic? I didn't think so. I had my skills. I could get whatever I wanted through my own abilities. There was nothing tragic about that. When I got home that night, I wanted to talk to my parents about switching my major, but the atmosphere in the house was strangely tense. My parents were sitting on the sofa with grim faces, looking like they'd just had a fight. Each one looked angrier than the other. Our housekeeper, Mrs. Zhou, was wiping a table nearby. Seeing me, she raised her voice. Ava's home. My father immediately shot up and stormed toward me. My mother got up and grabbed his arm. Honey, be reasonable. Ava, what did you do at school today? Claire came home in tears and immediately developed a fever. She calls you sister with every breath, so how could you be so cruel to her? What happened all those years ago had nothing to do with her. How many times do we have to tell you that before you understand? I looked at my father calmly. What did she tell you? In court, even a judge has to hear both sides before passing a sentence. What makes you so sure I'm the one who bullied her? My father got even angrier. He raised his hand as if to strike me, hesitated, then slammed it down on a nearby table. You've got such a sharp tongue. Let me ask you, did you or did you not announce in front of everyone that Claire's grandmother was our maid? Claire values her reputation more than anything. By saying that, you made her. I turned and glanced at Mrs. Zhou. Dad, I have to disagree with you there. What's wrong with being a maid? Are maids inferior to everyone else? We all work for a living. What gives you the right to look down on them? My dad was speechless. He glanced at Mrs. Zhou, his face flushing with embarrassment. Mrs. Zhou, I didn't mean it like that. Mrs. Zhou kept her head down and continued wiping the table. My mother took the opportunity to pull me by the arm and tell me to go upstairs and check on Claire. Ava, I know you're holding a grudge, but give it time. You'll see that Claire is a really sweet and kind girl. I hope you two can be real sisters. Okay. I nodded and went upstairs to see Claire. If she loves playing sick so much, I might as well make her really sick. That way, she'll look even more pitiful. But as soon as I stepped into her room, a black insect flew straight at me. The insect was the size of a fly, a sickly green color with long antennae and a swollen abdomen. It looked like a cross between a green bottlefly and a bee. This was a low-level red bean poison. A bite from it causes pus-filled boils to cover the body, similar to chicken pox, but these boils fester and leave scars, easily ruining a person's appearance. I turned to look at Claire. She was sitting on her bed, clutching a doll and staring at me with pure hatred. I chuckled softly and pretended not to see the poison, walking over to sit on the edge of her bed. Claire immediately curled her lip in disgust. What? Are you here to gloat? Ava, you malicious woman. Will you not be satisfied until you've destroyed everything I have? While playing the victim again. I didn't say anything, just waited for the poison to bite me. I couldn't wait to see the backlash hit Claire. Sure enough, the red bean poison circled me once, then dove viciously toward my exposed forearm and bit down. A second later, the insect went rigid, fell off my arm onto Claire's bed, and instantly turned to a pile of ash. As the priestess of my tribe, I harbor the golden silkworm poison, the king of all poison. Anyone who tries to use a poison on me suffers a backlash. But to my surprise, nothing happened to Claire. She stared at the pile of ash on her bed and shrieked. Ava, you're disgusting. So gross. Get out of my room. I grew up in this family. Do you have any idea how hard I've worked to be worthy of the Jiang family name? I studied art, music, calligraphy, and etiquette. I spent all that time and effort to earn everyone's approval. Why should a country bumpkin like you, who's done nothing, get mom and dad's love so easily? Why? I replied. Because I'm their actual daughter? Claire froze for a second, then started screaming again. So what if you're their daughter? Does blood give you the right to destroy over a decade of my hard work? Everything in this family is mine. Kyle is mine too. He would never fall for a hick like you. Crying and screaming, Claire started throwing pillows on the floor. I had no patience for her theatrics, so I turned and left the room. Someone else in this house knew how to use poison, and I had to find them. I went back to my room, tucked a few of my poison insects into my sleeves, and went downstairs. My parents were chatting in the living room. The poison circled them both, but neither had any trace of magic on them. TSK. My dad was that dense naturally, not because he was cursed. I found that hard to believe. Mom, where's Mrs. Zhou? There were 2 cleaning ladies and 2 cooks in the house. Mrs. Zhou's cooking suited Claire's tastes, so she was usually around, but she wasn't in the kitchen today. Oh, she just asked for some time off. Ava, your brother is coming home today. I'm going to the kitchen to make his favorite lobster. Will you come help me? My mom pulled me into the kitchen, her expression gentle. Ava, you need to get along with Claire. I know you're both good kids. You don't know this, but Claire has the kindest heart. When her pet bunny and goldfish died when she was little, she would cry for days and even held funerals for them. Sometimes she'd find stray cats and dogs and bring them home. Ava, do you like animals? I nodded. I do. Roasted rabbit is delicious. My mom's expression soured. She looked at me, a complicated mix of disgust and conflict in her eyes. Finally, she sighed and patted my head. Ava, bunnies are too cute to eat, okay? I looked up at her, my face a mask of innocence. We can't eat rabbits? What about bugs? Can we eat those? My mom grimaced. Why would you eat bugs? I was hungry. Grandma died when I was 8, and the whole village pitched in to raise me. But we only had rice twice a week, and never any meat. I craved meat every day. In the summer, I'd catch cicadas and grasshoppers to roast and eat. One time, the neighbor boy caught a wild rabbit. That was the best meat I've ever tasted in my life. My mom froze for a second, then threw her arms around me and began to wail. "Oh, I'm a terrible mother. What kind of suffering has my child endured?" Oh, by dinner time, my mother had ordered the most famous spicy hand-shredded roast rabbit in the city. Arriving with the takeout were my brother and my sister-in-law. My brother was tall, with facial features that did indeed resemble mine, and he had a gentle, scholarly air about him. My sister-in-law, Grace, was the daughter of the Poison Corporation's chairman. She was beautiful and exquisitely dressed, though her face was unusually pale. "Mom, why do you order this? Doesn't Claire hate it when people eat rabbit?" my brother asked, placing the takeout bag on the dining table. My mom's eyes were still red. She quickly pulled me forward for an introduction. "This is Ava. We ordered the rabbit specially for her. Ava, make sure you eat a lot later." My brother's eyebrows shot up in surprise, a hint of disapproval in his expression. "Mom, Claire's going to be upset later." My sister-in-law tugged at his arm, and my brother said no more. She handed me a gift box with a warm smile. "Ava, welcome home. This is a little welcome gift from me." I took the gift and set it aside. Soon, everyone had gathered, and a maid called Claire down for dinner. We all sat around the table. As Claire reached her chopsticks toward the shredded rabbit, my brother let out a couple of coughs. "Ahem, Claire, don't eat that." "What's wrong? Is it too spicy?" Claire looked at my brother curiously. Just then, my sister-in-law gave her a cool glance, a faint smile playing on her lips. "This hand-shredded rabbit is amazing. Mom, we should order this more often." Claire let out a shriek, dropped her chopsticks, and covered her mouth in disbelief. "Bunnies are so cute. How could you eat a bunny?" She clung to my brother's arm and burst into tears. "Brother, I've loved rabbits my whole life. Don't you remember we held a funeral for Fluffy together? Have you forgotten all that? How could you let this woman buy a rabbit?" It sounded like Claire and my sister-in-law didn't have the most harmonious relationship. Claire was crying her eyes out, waiting for the family to take her side, but my mother slammed her hand on the table. "What are you crying for? If you don't want to eat it, does that mean no one else can? A rabbit is a pet to you, but for others, it was the only meat they got to eat in years." My mom's eyes reddened again. Claire let go of my brother's arm and stared at my mother, her face a mask of disbelief. "Mom, you yelled at me? You yelled at me for Ava?" Claire's lips trembled as fat tears rolled down her cheeks, one after another. She looked utterly pitiful. My brother immediately put his arm around Claire's shoulders and patted her comfortingly. "It's okay, Claire." A flicker of hesitation crossed my mom's face. She glanced at Claire poisoniltily, then looked back at me. I put down my chopsticks and sighed. When I was little, I used to watch the other kids in the village get scolded and spanked by their parents, and I was so envious. I wished that one day I could have a mom and dad who would yell at me or hit me when I was naughty. I looked at my mom and gave a self-deprecating smile. Now I finally have a mother, but she's so polite and considerate to me, like I'm a poisonist. I don't know if I'll ever get to experience that kind of affectionate scolding. My mom. "Oh, I'm a terrible mother. My poor child. I'm not being polite, I just don't know how to love you enough to make up for everything." My mom hugged me and sobbed. My brother's eyes welled up too, and he stood up awkwardly, wanting to comfort me. My sister-in-law watched us in amazement, then suddenly wiped away a tear of her own. "Ava, to be envious of a scolding, my God, what kind of life did you live? Can you tell me more about it?" And so, by the end of dinner, my mom and brother were crying together. My brother held my hand and promised, "Ava, from now on, I'll buy you rabbit every day. I'm going to take you to eat all sorts of delicious food." Claire stood off to the side, her face twisted with rage, looking like she was about to explode. But no one was paying any attention to her. After dinner, Claire locked herself in her room. From inside, we could hear the periodic thump of things being smashed. My mom stroked my hair. "Claire's just having a little tantrum. Let her break a few things. Don't worry about it." I looked at my mom in shock. But the vases and decorations in her room are really expensive. They could buy so much rice. My mom was speechless for a moment. She couldn't take it anymore. She stormed up to Claire's room. "Claire Jiang, You break one more thing and see what happens." A moment later, the door slammed shut, and we could hear them arguing inside. I smiled to myself. Mission accomplished. That evening, my sister-in-law, Grace, came to my room with a pile of gifts, her smile incredibly warm. "Ava, I liked you the moment I saw you. These are all for you." I looked at all the designer bags and jewelry on my bed and shook my head. "I'm not really into this stuff. Could you just give me cash instead?" Grace paused for a second, then clapped her hands and burst out laughing. "Of course. I'll give you a big fat red envelope as a welcome gift." She chatted with me for a while, acting like we were old friends. She revealed that the biggest obstacle in her relationship with my brother had always been Claire. When they were dating, Claire made trouble at every turn, setting traps for her. If my brother hadn't loved her so much, Claire would have broken them up long ago. It only got worse after they got married. Claire played the innocent victim every day, causing my dad to lecture Grace and my brother to argue with her constantly. Eventually, Grace bought another villa in the same neighborhood and moved out. My brother had no choice but to move with her, and only then did their relationship improve a little. It's so satisfying to see her get what she deserves. It's true what they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Her grandmother, that Mrs. Chun who used to work here, was no good either. She stole jewelry from the house to sell countless times. Mom and Dad are just too kind-hearted to do anything about it. Grace chattered on for a while longer, then suddenly reached out and touched my eyebrows. "Ava, you look so much like your brother." She giggled. "Come shopping with me this weekend. I'll treat you to some amazing food." I nodded. After she left, I opened my palm and watched Fuzzy draw a circle on it. Things were getting more and more interesting. Grace had a poison in her, too. Was she the one behind all this? Who was the good poisony, and who was the bad poisony? After getting snubbed at home, Claire naturally had to reclaim her turf at school. During a break, as soon as I entered the restroom, Veronica and her friends followed me in. They shooed everyone else out and locked the door. "Ava, you country bumpkin. Get on your knees and apologize to Claire right now, or else." Veronica and the others pulled out their phones and started recording me. I looked at Veronica with a serious expression. "Veronica, you're so much prettier than Claire. Why are you always following her around? She says at home that you're her little goon, that you do whatever she says." "What's a goon?" Veronica was speechless. "Ava, stop trying to drive a wedge between us. Veronica and Claire are best friends. We're not falling for your tricks." Another girl interjected. I shook my head. "I don't lie. And I've never tried to provoke Claire. I wouldn't dare." I shrank back, pretending to be scared. "She uses black magic. Last time, with all those mice in the classroom, none of them went near her. Didn't you poisonies notice?" Everyone froze. Thinking back, it seemed like that was true. "Oh," I gasped, pointing at Veronica. "Veronica, you're so obedient to her. Could it be that she's used her black magic on you too?" "Bullshit. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? Do you think I'm a 3-year-old? There's no such thing as black magic." Veronica's face flushed with anger as she glared at me. Just then, someone knocked on the door. It was Claire's voice. "Veronica, don't hurt Ava. Open the door." The girls exchanged glances. Someone went and unlocked the door, and Claire walked in. She immediately turned and locked the door again before walking toward us, putting on an innocent, naive act. "Veronica, I know you're just trying to stand up for me. Just teach her a little lesson, but don't take it too far." I said. "Claire, 1 second you're telling them not to hurt me, and the next you're saying it's okay to teach me a lesson. That's a pretty fine line to walk. You're trying to be the good poisony here, but you're just making things hard for Veronica, aren't you?" The girls were silent. Veronica turned to look at Claire, her expression complicated. The fake grace on Claire's face finally crumbled. She shrieked and lunged at me. "Ava, I'm going to rip that filthy mouth of yours apart." I immediately ducked and ran. "No, please. I won't do it again. Don't scare me with rats and bugs anymore." Claire chased me around. As a girl raised in the mountains, there was no way I was going to let her catch me. As I ran, I released a poison. This one was called the bewitching flower poison, a purple ladybug. It emits a strange fragrance that attracts all manner of snakes, insects, and vermin from miles around. Before long, a dense rustling sound started coming from the bathroom window. "Oh my God, look!" someone screamed. Countless mice, centipedes, cockroaches, and other bugs appeared outside the window. Cockroaches flew, mice scurried, and bugs crawled, clumping together into massive black balls that tumbled in through the window one by one. My golden silkworm poison masked my presence, and with the bewitching flower poison in my hand, many of the insects flew toward me first, landing on my arms. I let out a series of screams. The rest of the insects swarmed over the other girls, yet they all instinctively avoided Claire. Black magic! She uses black magic! The girls screamed and huddled together, staring at Claire in terror. The scene was too much for Claire. She fainted. She lay on the bathroom floor, and the swarming pests gave her a 3-centimeter wide berth, forming a perfect circle around her. It looked like the site of a large-scale magic ritual. In the panic, Veronica managed to regain a sliver of composure. Screaming, she rushed to unlock the bathroom door, and I escaped behind them. I tucked the bewitching flower poison back into its special pouch, and the insects chasing us quickly dispersed. We ran all the way to the school's Swan Lake, gasping for breath. "I told you, but you didn't believe me. Claire really does use black magic. It's so scary." Veronica was in shock. "What do we do? We've all been cursed by her. Are we going to die?" I shook my head. "Her power isn't very strong. After that, she won't be able to use her magic for at least a year. As for you poisonies, you can go to a temple and get some blessed water to drink. That should do it. But be careful of Claire. She'll put bugs in your food. Be careful not to get cursed by her again." Ugh, those bugs were so disgusting. "Ava, we treated you so badly before, and you still helped us. We're so sorry." The girls looked at me, lowering their heads in shame. I smiled modestly. Another job well done. On my way back to class, Leo stopped me. "Ava." He walked up to me, his tall frame leaning down slightly, and raised an eyebrow. "I saw everything just now. So what's it going to take to keep me quiet?" "I don't know what you're talking about." I huffed and turned to leave, but Leo followed me relentlessly. Leo's family was wealthier than anyone else's in our class by a long shot, and they were also the university's biggest donors. Plus, he was handsome, so he always drew attention. Now that he was constantly hanging around me, rumors started to spread that he was pursuing me. Claire couldn't sit still. "Veronica, everyone's saying Leo likes Ava. What do you think?" Veronica had a crush on Leo, but she was a loyal friend. She had accepted it when she thought Leo liked Claire, but if it was someone else, she wouldn't stand for it. Claire was trying to use Veronica as a pawn to target me again. But to her surprise, Veronica just shot Claire a disgusted look and took a big step back. "Stay away from me." She turned and walked away, leaving Claire standing there alone, her eyes instantly red with humiliation. Kyle rushed over to put his arm around Claire, glaring at me indignantly. "Ava, are you satisfied now? You've taken Claire's parents, her friends. What's next?" "Me." He looked at me with disgust. "Let me tell you, forget it. I will never leave Claire's side in this life." I looked back at him with equal disgust. "Who's trying to break you two up? You're perfect for each other. You should be locked together forever." I hadn't planned on doing anything to them, but then something unexpected happened. Every fall, our class organized a short trip. This year, the class president booked a resort surrounded by mountains covered in red maple leaves. The scenery was breathtaking. The hotel lobby even had a few pet squirrels. Claire, who had always loved small animals, dragged Kyle up the mountain to collect pine cones. When they came back, they were acting strangely, ignoring each other completely. Puzzled, I went over to ask Leo. "Hey, you were on the mountain too. What happened to them? Did they have a fight?" To my surprise, Leo shoved me away impatiently. "Why are you so close? Do I know you?" His voice was loud and his attitude was nasty. Everyone around us turned to look. Leo shot me a cold glare and walked over to Claire's side. "Claire, I need to talk to you." With that, he pulled Claire away. From that day on, Leo's behavior did a complete 180. He became incredibly attentive to Claire, even publicly announcing that he was going to pursue her. Kyle was naturally unwilling to give up, but with Leo's family background, he was powerless. Because of Leo, a group of girls naturally flocked back to Claire, fawning over her. Claire began to get cocky again, bringing Leo home for dinner several times. My parents were both very impressed with him. Today was my birthday, which was also Claire's. Our family booked a hotel and threw us a lavish birthday party. The original intention was to use this opportunity to introduce me to other relatives and friends, but with the arrival of Leo's family, all the attention shifted to Claire. I sat off to the side, eating snacks and watching everyone swarm around Claire. My father was beaming, his face flushed with pride. Ava, a pheasant is still a pheasant. Even if it flies up to a high branch, it can never become a phoenix. Claire walked over and handed me a glass of wine. Didn't you like Kyle? You can have him. Leo is 100 times better than Kyle. And besides, he would never be interested in you. I was speechless. Her ability to make things up was a sickness that needed a cure. I was here to study. I had no interest in poisonies. As soon as Claire left, Leo appeared. He pulled me into a corner, his face contorted in pain. Ava, you have to help me. I know you have a way. I was a little surprised. As expected of a man with a gifted body, he could actually suppress the poison inside him with sheer willpower, even for a short time. That's right, Leo had been cursed with a poison. Someone had used a love poison on Claire and Kyle. Something had happened on the mountain that day, and the poison had left Kyle's body and entered Leo's. People with a gifted body have a fatal attraction to poison insects. And unlike me, Leo didn't have a powerful life-bound poison to protect him, making him an easy target. Why should I help you? What's in it for me? I held up my hand, rubbing my thumb and forefinger together, then raised one finger. For a rich kid like him, $10,000 shouldn't be a problem, right? Leo immediately grabbed my hand and nodded vigorously. Done. 10 million. I sucked in a sharp breath and gripped his hand back. What are we waiting for? I'll solve this for you right now. I had Leo take Claire to a room upstairs. As soon as the door closed, Claire looked down shyly. Isn't this a little fast? I stepped out from behind the curtain and shook my head. Any later and it'll be too late. With that much money, I don't know if the transfer can even be completed in one day. I tied Claire up with a rope. Leo stood beside me, scratching his head. What's next? Claire started screaming. Ava, what are you doing? How far will you go to hurt me before you're satisfied? You evil woman. You're a monster. She started screaming hysterically. I really wanted to gag her, but it wasn't time yet. I cut my finger with a small knife and smeared the blood on Leo's forehead, then pressed my bloody finger to his lips. I chanted a spell under my breath, my expression devout. Leo stared at me, his breathing a little ragged. He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing. Ava, ugh. Leo clutched his neck, his expression horrified. He turned aside as if to vomit, but I clamped my hand over his mouth. A moment later, a plump, pure white worm crawled out of his mouth and into my palm. I repeated the process and extracted the worm from Claire's body as well. The two worms writhed and tangled in my palm, then melted into a pool of pus that seeped into my skin and vanished completely. Leo and Claire were dumbfounded. I walked over to Claire and pinched her chin. Tell me, who cast the love poison for you? Claire shook her head frantically, trying to wrench free. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. I snapped my fingers. Fuzzy crawled out of my sleeve onto the back of my hand and raised his two front claws at Claire. If you don't talk, I'll let him crawl into your mouth. Faced with the giant black spider, Claire finally broke down, sobbing as she told me everything. She said the apple tree in the backyard had magical powers. Any wish she made to the tree would come true. Leo was shocked. Ava, what is that, a tree demon? I gave him a deadpan look. Don't you believe in science? There's no such thing as tree demons. Leo was speechless. When we returned to the ballroom downstairs, Leo's father and my dad were whispering to each other. They then walked onto the stage with glasses of wine, smiling broadly. Today is Claire's birthday, but it's also a special day. Claire is a wonderful girl, and I am proud to announce. Leo sucked in a breath and bolted down the spiral staircase, leaping several steps at a time like Spider-Man. He rushed onto the stage and snatched the microphone from his father's hand. "I am proud to announce my engagement to Ava." "Me?" Question mark. Leo shot me a meaningful look and rambled into the microphone, basically saying that we were classmates and a couple. Our families were a perfect match, and it was a union made in heaven. The crowd erupted in thunderous applause. Leo pulled his father off the stage, explained a few things in a low voice, and then walked over to me. "Ava, I was out of my mind before. I forced my dad to agree to an alliance with the Jiang family, and both our parents agreed. I had no choice. Can you help me out and play along for now?" I frowned, about to speak. Leo put his hands on my shoulders. "I'll pay you more." My face immediately broke into a smile. "Say no more. We're classmates. Helping out is what we do." Claire's face twisted in a crazed expression. She lifted her skirt and ran out of the ballroom. I knew she was heading home to that apple tree. It seemed she was desperate, pinning all her hopes on this last resort. I chased after her. My brother and sister-in-law were at the entrance, arguing about something. Seeing me rush out, Grace came over with red-rimmed eyes and asked what was wrong. "It's an emergency. I have to go home right now." Grace nodded. "I don't want to stay here either. Let me give you a ride." "Grace," my brother sighed. "Come on, I'll drive you both back." My brother drove, with Grace and me in the back seat. Grace couldn't hold it in any longer and suddenly buried her face in her hands, sobbing. My brother gave a bitter smile and explained to me, "Ava, we lost the baby again." Grace went stiff, burying her face in her knees and crying uncontrollably. My brother's eyes turned red too. They had been married for 6 years. Grace was 33 this year and had miscarried 4 times. This time, they hadn't dared to tell anyone about the pregnancy. They had rushed to the hospital just the other day, only to find out that at just over 3 months, the baby was gone again. I was stunned. I had suspected Grace of being the one casting curses, but from the looks of it, she was clearly a victim. To figure out what kind of poison she was afflicted with, I would need to lure it out. I took Grace's hand. "Grace, someone is trying to hurt you. I'll help you find the culprit." Grace looked up, her eyes misty with tears, clearly not understanding what I was saying. I wasn't in a hurry to explain. When we got home, I led them straight to the backyard. Sure enough, Claire was standing under the apple tree, her hands clasped together, muttering something. Mrs. Zhou stood a short distance away, holding a bowl of bird's nest soup and calling for Claire to come eat. On the other side of the yard, a gardener was weeding, and another maid was sweeping leaves. 3 people. Every one of them was a suspect. "Claire, let me guess what you wished for. For me to disappear? For Leo to fall in love with you again?" I walked toward Claire, step by step. "It feels pretty magical, doesn't it? A real wishing tree? You wished for Kyle to like you and he did. You wished for Leo to love you, and he was about to be with you. You wished for the baby in Grace's belly to disappear, and she miscarried 4 times in a row." "Ava, what nonsense are you talking about?" My brother stood by, his face pale. Grace clutched his arm, her expression one of utter disbelief. Claire sneered. "Ava, have you gone crazy? I have no idea what you're talking about." "It's okay if you don't understand. Just keep your eyes open and watch." I raised a hand and formed a seal. Whoever casts such a vicious poison will pay the price for their actions. In the art of poison, there is an extremely advanced secret technique called Backlash. Traditionally, only the priestess is qualified to learn it, used to pass judgment on those who maliciously harm others with poison. A poison insect and its caster are linked by countless threads. When a backlash is invoked, the victim's poison suffers immense pain and turns on its master, devouring their flesh and blood to alleviate its agony. I bit my fingertip and smeared the blood on my left palm, drawing a complex totem, then brought my hand close to my heart. "With my blood, I summon your soul. With my body, I pray for your judgment. Let the weapon be turned, and the wielder be ground to dust." Thump, thump. My heart began to beat violently. The golden silkworm poison inside me moved to my chest, close to my palm, radiating a terrifying power. A moment later, the blood on my palm seeped through my skin and into my heart. Standing beside me, Grace suddenly clutched her head and let out a pained scream before turning to vomit. From the pool of vomit on the ground, a moth with sticky wings fluttered up. It flew straight at Mrs. Zhou, ramming into her and disappearing into her mouth. Ah! Mrs. Zhou let out a tortured scream and fell to the ground, writhing. A moment later, a cockroach like poison flew down from the apple tree and bit into Mrs. Zhou. Then, a four-legged lizard crawled out from a corner of the wall. In just a few moments, Mrs. Zhou was a bloody mess. She lay on the ground, moaning, the immense pain making her delirious. Everyone was petrified, staring wide-eyed at the scene unfolding before them. Please stop, I'll confess. I'll confess everything. Mrs. Zhou struggled to grab my leg, admitting to everything. I cast all the poison. It has nothing to do with Claire. I'm poisonilty, sniff, send me to prison, I'll confess. My brother stood stunned for a moment, then rushed over and kicked Mrs. Zhou hard. What did our family ever do to you that you would hurt Grace like this? Grace was sobbing uncontrollably, clutching her stomach. Ever since I married into this family, I've treated you with nothing but respect. And you took 4 of my children from me. I will not let you get away with this. My brother called security to watch Mrs. Zhou. I recalled the poison insects. Claire stood there, watching stupidly. None of this has anything to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. Grace shot Claire a furious glare. You're still playing innocent in front of me? Claire, you dared to harm me. I will investigate everything and tear off that hypocritical mask of yours. My parents rushed back from the party, unable to believe what was happening. Mrs. Zhou had been with the family for years. 3 months after the original Mrs. Chun was fired, Mrs. Zhou had come to work for them. She had cared for Claire since she was a child, always diligent and devoted. She didn't seem like a bad person at all. Besides, this whole story about poison insects sounded completely absurd. My parents were skeptical, until the next day, when Grace called the police. Accompanying them was a handsome, strikingly domineering man. Alex, did you find out everything? Grace walked over to him. He nodded and tossed a briefcase onto the table. Sis, it's all here. Mrs. Zhou is Claire's biological mother. Her family is from the poison regions. Impossible. That's impossible. Claire covered her ears and screamed. Mrs. Zhou, her eyes red, glanced at Claire, still wanting to protect her. I shot her a cold, warning glare. Since you're from the poison regions, you should know the rules. I have 100 ways to make you tell the truth. Mrs. Zhou trembled and finally collapsed, slumping to the floor in tears. It turned out that years ago, Mrs. Zhou's family was very poor, while her mother-in-law worked as a maid for the Jiang family. She listened to her mother-in-law's stories about the Jiang family's wealth every day, filled with envy and jealousy. One day, her mother-in-law overheard that Mrs. Zhang's due date was the same as her own daughter-in-law's, and the family got a wicked idea. They swapped the 2 babies. But she couldn't bear to be apart from her own flesh and blood. So Mrs. Zhou followed Claire to the Jiang household and took a job there. When they were little, Kyle wouldn't pay any attention to Claire. One day, Claire was crying under the apple tree, and Mrs. Zhou overheard her. She told Claire that it was a magical tree, and that any wish she made would come true. So Claire wished for Kyle to always be nice to her, and Mrs. Zhou cast a love poison on both of them. When Grace married into the family, Claire didn't like her and wanted her to divorce my brother, so she wished for Grace to be unable to have children. With a family as prominent as the Jiangs, my parents still held traditional views about continuing the family line. They figured Grace would eventually crack under the pressure and agree to a divorce. Whatever Claire wished for, Mrs. Zhou would use poison to make it happen. Anyone Claire disliked would suffer misfortune, whether they were children or adults. Over the years, Mrs. Zhou had committed countless evil acts. Everyone was stunned. My father stood up, dumbfounded. Peter is your cousin. He was so good to you, and just because he said your nose wasn't straight enough, you made him fall and break his leg. Dad, I didn't mean to. I was just a kid. I was just saying it out of anger. Oh, Dad, I can't stand you misunderstanding me like this. You know I'm the kindest person. Claire threw herself into my father's arms, crying. For the first time, my father pushed her away. Mrs. Zhou sat on the floor dazed. As the police were about to take her away, She suddenly came to her senses and rushed toward Claire. Claire, let mommy look at you one more time. Oh, Claire. But Claire just slapped her ferociously. You psycho. You're not my mother. You crazy old hag, you've ruined my life. Get out. Get out now. Mrs. Zhou was obsessive and crazy, but to be fair, she had been unfailingly devoted to Claire all these years. Seeing Claire's disgusted reaction, my mother felt a chill run down her spine. She is your daughter, and you love your daughter. But did you ever think that the people you harmed also have children? It wasn't enough for you to get rid of my daughter, you had to sell her into the mountains. You are utterly depraved. My mom glared at Mrs. Zhou. As the police led a weeping Mrs. Zhou away, Claire began to panic. Seeing my dad ignore her, she ran to kneel and cry in front of my mom. But my mom, for all her softness, had reached her limit. Claire, you're an adult now. Our family has raised you for all these years, and we've done our duty. From now on, you're on your own. The allowance and living expenses we've given you over the years should be more than enough to last you the rest of your life. The family threw Claire out. Seeing the venomous, resentful look on her face, I knew she wouldn't give up so easily. And someone else wasn't ready to let it go either. Sometime later, Grace told me that Claire had dropped out of school. She's looking for someone to teach her poison magic. She wants revenge. Guess who she found? Grace winked at me smugly. She's so stupid. I can't believe I was tormented by someone like her for so many years. I didn't have time to worry about Claire's affairs because I was being pestered by someone else. Leo blocked my path. Ava, are you really not going to consider it? I shook my head. My mind is only on my studies right now. I'm not interested in men. With my family's help, I had successfully transferred to my desired major, ancient philology. I possessed a secret manuscript passed down through generations of my tribe's priestesses, but I couldn't yet read the ancient script. This was the main reason I had to leave the mountains and go to college. Leo followed me like a puppy. I'm not completely ignorant about poison magic anymore. I've done my research. I have that, what's it called, a gifted body. It's very rare. Leo blocked my path again. The sun shone down from above, casting a golden halo around the tips of his hair. If two people like us had a kid, do you think they'd have a gifted body too? Maybe even stronger than you. I stopped in my tracks. Leo had a point. I was actually a little tempted. I gave him a cool glance. It's still early. We can talk about it later. Leo grinned, his eyes crinkling at the corners and sparkling with flecks of light. Okay, I'll wait for you. I walked past him and continued on my way. The weather was perfect, with a warm breeze on my face. The sunlight and Leo were both perfect. The end.